Okay, so I told you we wouldn't get too technical with this class. Like, you're not going to learn how to play an instrument or everything about a certain instrument, but based on that, the first thing I'm going to do is get kind of technical here. But basically, what I want to do is define some words that we're going to be using throughout the class. I don't know everybody's musical background, so you may already know all these terms. You may already been around enough music to know these, but I didn't want to necessarily be using them as we go on, and you kind of be like, well, I don't even know what that word means. So there's about 20 words here that I'm going to have us define. I'm going to have you take notes on them, and I'll be looking over here when I read the straight definition of them, as far as like, this is the, classical definition of this word, and then I will give kind of my feedback on those definitions to kind of break them down a little bit more in everyday language, and so that we know what we're talking about as we go on in these videos. If I don't get to all 20 in this first video, if I notice the video is getting too long, I will break it up into 2 videos and do the other one tomorrow. So the first word is note, okay, and I've said this word already a couple times. It's N-O-T-E, note, and I used a little bit of this yesterday, but the definition that you will write, and if you have to pause and replay the video, you can do that, and go back and slow it down if you need to. Now, note can mean a lot of things, not just in musical terms, but in the musical term, it is, let's see, I scrolled down, I think, a single tone, that's T-O-N-E, of definite pitch made by a musical instrument or the human voice. So it's a single tone of definite pitch made by a musical instrument or the human voice. So when you sing a note, it's a single note. And if you play a note, it's a single note. So an example, I'm sitting at my piano. If I play this note here, let me turn that up a little bit. Okay, that's playing a single note. And this is a C note, okay? You can have D, E, F, so on, but here's C. And when I play that single note or sing it, you're hitting that one note. There can be multiple C notes. So here's a C, here's a C also, it's higher, and then another one up here even higher, or I can go lower, but they're all C. It's all the C note. You'll notice the difference when I go up to D. It's a different note. So there's C, there's D. So when I'm singing and I sing a note, or I'm playing and I play a note, it has a definite pitch. And as you learn about music and as you start to play music, you'll hear the difference between that note and maybe this note. Some people have perfect pitch. They can hear any sound and know what note it is. It doesn't even have to be an instrument. They can hear like a car horn, and they know exactly what note that is. Some people have that ability. You're almost born with it. So that is learning about notes as far as, what all they can be and what pitch they are. And we'll actually define pitch a little bit later too, but that's what a note is. So you can sing it or play it. When you put a whole bunch of notes together, okay, and I will definitely tell you which words you'll define. So as I'm talking here, these aren't new words you got to write down, but you do, if you want to add these to your notes. But when you add a whole bunch of notes together, that's when you get a song. You can make a song with certain notes. If I was going to learn a song, like when I first sat down to even learn guitar or piano, I would play note by note. So like the song Amazing Grace, I would start on a note, each note. So I'm playing it note by note. And if someone sang that, they would sing the words, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. So they would play note by note or sing note by note. When you start putting more, we're going to define that here in a second. It's more full. It's got, so that you can hear multiple things going on. But that note by note is note, just goes. It's note by note. Now, a note can be held out for a long time. And some of the music, I'm going to play some examples of music that like hold out notes. You can hold a note for a long time. It's held out, even if you sing it, or if you hit it real short. That single tone. The song, if you've ever heard the song Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, Do, a deer, a female deer, Re, a drop of golden sun. I don't know if I'm singing the right lyrics, but those are notes, okay, that you learn. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol. It's climbing up note by note. So those are, that's going to be a term we use a lot. Like, did you hear that note? Did you hear what the song played? Okay. The next word. And I promise you, I don't think I'll spend 5 minutes on each word, but the next word is chord. And that, in music terms, that's spelled C-H-O-R-D. C-H-O-R-D. That is chord. And that word, I think it's in the movie, That Thing You Do, where he wants to call himself the Chordettes or something instead of Corvettes. So that is a group of typically 3 or more notes sounded together as a basis of harmony. And that word harmony we're going to define here in a little bit. Harmony is H-R-M-O-N-Y. So to repeat, it's a group of typically 3 or more notes sounded together as a basis of harmony. So we already know what note is. So now that we know that a chord is 3 or more, that tells us when we hit 3 or more notes at once, then we have a chord. So let me go back to the C note. That's a single note, that's C. A C chord, okay, can sound like this. I'm going to hit this note, and this note all together. And it's going to make a chord. You ready? That's a C chord. So you've got 3 notes. And they're all played at once. You can have more, so I can have a really full C chord that sounds like this. So I've got a bass. I can have it sound like this. So it's 3 or more of those notes hit all at once to make a really rich chord. And that word harmony, now I'm not going to define it yet, but when all those notes go together, they harmonize, they kind of go together. It's not just any 3 notes that you can hit together. I can't just hit and then, and now that'll make a certain chord, but that's not my C chord. When you hear songs played that something sounds off, like I'm just hitting a whole bunch of just different notes that don't really go together, that doesn't sound in harmony. It doesn't go together. Okay? When you play them together and they go together, that's what it sounds like. It sounds more like it's, oh, those go together. I always think of a funny story that Harry Connick would tell, that he said he had a friend that didn't play piano whatsoever, and he would sit at this thing. They went in somewhere where there was a piano, and he acted like he could really play the piano, and he'd sit down and he would just start hitting things like, and make it look like he knew what he was doing, and everybody was like, oh wow, he must really know how to play, because I can't even. And he had no idea what he was doing. He was just, would do that. And so sometimes you hear jazz music, and if you don't know what you're listening to, sometimes you can be like, wow, are they even playing, but if you know about it, then you're like, oh, yeah, that's in that chord, that fits, and it sounds so. But that's what a chord is, 3 or more notes that you play. Okay, the word melody. Melody is spelled M-E-L-O-D-Y. Okay, melody. And melody, let me get the thing here. It is a sequence of single notes that is musically satisfying. Okay, a sequence of single notes that is musically satisfying. Now that definition, and there's other definitions of it, but that definition is pretty open, because what could be satisfying to you could be totally different satisfying to someone else. That's why jazz music, some people that really love it, it sounds different than anything that maybe someone else would like. So that can be pretty open as far as what it is. But basically, I like to focus on that sequence of single notes. So that's what I was playing when I was playing Amazing Grace, is when you put it in that sequence, if you know the song, you recognize the song. It's putting notes in order. So like if I go, if you know that song, you're going to recognize it. Now if I hit them in out of order, I may hit the same notes, but hit them out of order, so becomes a totally different song. Hitting the same notes, but I'm playing them out of that order. If you play them in the right order of the song, you will recognize the song. Another one, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So it starts out with an octave. If you know that song, then you recognize it from the order I'm playing those in. If I can find it. So that's playing a melody. So a song has a melody. You would recognize it from what it's being played. Now some people play note by note and they play it, but that's where you can interpret songs in a different way as you play, and maybe play the chords but change up the notes in there and make it close to, and you start to hear the melody as you go along. There's songs that don't play the melody right away. They're maybe playing around it a little bit and then they go into it. And then you start to hear the melody come out where you're like, oh, I recognize that song. So that's what a melody is. Now another word that I put that we're going to define here, number 4. So we had note, chord, melody. This one I chose to put right after melody because it sounds just like it, but it's actually different. It's called medley. So M-E-D-L-E-Y, medley. Okay, and that's different than melody. Okay, and so in musical terms, let me find the one that's got a musical. Okay, a musical composition made up of a series of songs or short pieces. So a musical composition, that's C-O-M-P-O-S-I-T-I-O-N, made up of a series of songs or short pieces. So a medley, okay, is if I was to play, let's say I was playing a concert, okay, and I wanted to play a medley. Now this is different than melody. Melody is if I play a song, it has a melody in it. If I play a medley at a concert, I take several songs and I put them together. So, and a lot of times people will shorten those versions so that they'll play a little bit of this song, play a little bit of this song, and play a little bit of this song. One place I noticed they do this a lot is like the Super Bowl, the halftime at Super Bowl. These performers will go and they won't perform their whole song and then stop and then perform their whole other song and then stop and then perform their whole other song. A lot of times they'll take like their 3 best hits and they'll sing a little bit of one, go right into a little bit of the other one, and go right into the last one. And they'll just play little portions of each song. That is a medley. And so, you know, that's a little bit different than melody because you're playing, it just means that you're playing several songs in one composition. Okay, you mix them all, and you're not playing them all at the same time. You're playing each one still, but you're playing short versions of them and you're putting them all together. One thing about that is if you do that, a lot of times you don't have to, but a lot of times you'll put them in the same key, and we're going to define key later. But this is why it's important to know these words, because later if I bring that up and say, hey, that's all in the same key, you'll know what I'm talking about. But when you play a medley, a lot of times you'll have to put it in the same key that way you're not playing in a key and then all of a sudden in another key. And you can do it, you can raise as you go along, but you usually have to have a transition. A lot of times what they'll do is put all the songs in that same key, that way they never leave that key of, you know, whatever key they're in. So that's medley. Okay, number 5 is harmony, Harmony, and we've already used this word. Okay, so we used the word harmony when we were talking about a chord. Okay, so let me bring that up. Okay, the combination of simultaneous musical notes in a chord. So it goes with the word chord. So the combination of simultaneous musical notes in a chord. So if something's in harmony, like I said, it will fit together. You're not going to hear something like this. It's not going to be all different notes, and it'll be in harmony, where it sounds all together. Singing wise, people harmonize with one another. So someone may sing the melody, and this was the hardest thing for me when I was growing up. My dad would always try to get me to sing harmony. And, I could hear a song and go to sing it, and, he'd be singing the melody and he'd want me to harmonize, or he'd want me to sing the melody, sing the song itself, and then he would start to harmonize. The problem is, if you don't have much experience with music and you're singing what you think the song is, if someone else starts singing different notes to harmonize with you, my voice always wanted to switch and sing what they were singing, not what I was supposed to be singing. If I heard something different, my voice, I would start trying to follow that instead of just holding what I was supposed to sing. So we did a song in the garden in church one time, and I had to sing the melody, so I had to sing what the song sounds like. So, I was singing the actual notes of the song. My dad was singing a low harmony. I think my sister was singing a higher harmony. So they were singing notes that went along with me, but they weren't the notes of the song. So that way, when I would sing the song and they were harmonizing, it sounded real full, but because they were, if like they sang just their portion, you wouldn't quite recognize the song. But because I was singing the actual portion, you knew the song and it just sounded real full. I had to almost just completely not listen to them, because if I started hearing them, I wanted to go to their parts and start singing with them, and then you would have lost the melody. So I had to really just focus in and say, okay, I know what this song sounds like. I'm going to make sure I sing those notes, and no matter what they're doing around me, I'm gonna focus. Choirs, and that's going to be the next word is choir. Choirs sing in harmony. You'll have some singing low, some singing in medium, right? And there's technical terms. There's bass, alto, soprano, those kind of things. But just for our purposes, you got someone singing really low and medium, and then some singing really high. And because they all blend together, it makes a choir sound. And I love choir music. So, I love when I hear a good choir. We got an opportunity to go to Brooklyn, New York. I've been to New York about 6 or 7 times. And Brooklyn, of course, is a borough of New York, that there's a church called Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, or the church is Brooklyn Tabernacle, but they have a choir, and just amazing, all different voices, and they mix together, and it's just, I love that kind of music. So when you hear that, the choirs a lot of times are singing harmony. That word choir, so the sixth word, choir, let me get the definition here for you. Okay. An organized company of singers. An organized company of singers, and it puts as in a church service. So, but we've seen choirs where, and they use the word organized, because if someone's singing one song and someone else is singing a totally different song and someone else is singing, that's not going to sound good. It's going to be just chaos. In fact, you'll hear choirs sometimes warming up, and it's just kind of chaotic because people are singing different notes and they're kind of getting ready. But when they get organized and all sing together, then that's a good choir, and that's when you hear it. So that is the word choir. Okay? And that's spelled C-H-O-I-R. Okay? The seventh word, a cappella. Okay? And that one's spelled A-C-A-P-E-L-L-A, a cappella. And let me bring up the definition here. Okay. Some people separate the A from the C-A-P-P and like make it almost two words, but you could spell it one word, a cappella. But it is without instrumental accompaniment. So that's accompaniment is A-C-C-O-M-P-A-N-I-M-E-N-T. Without instrumental accompaniment. All that means is you sing it with just voices. Okay? It's a song without voice, or sorry, with only voices. Okay? It has no instruments. You're only singing. I'll give you an example here. Here's a song that I put on this list that they start out with just voices. So I'm going to let you hear it and see what I mean. So you got one girl singing. Okay. No instruments. Now they're going to join with her. Someone singing harmony. Now there's a third person singing harmony. So there was no instruments. It was all singing, and they harmonized with another. So one was singing the melody, and you could hear the song, and then the other sang the notes with them. So that's singing a cappella. And a lot of choirs do that. They don't have any instruments. They just sing. Some do. Some you can have instruments and be a choir. But that is what a cappella means, okay? The eighth word, pitch, okay, pitch. I'm not talking about a baseball pitch, but it's spelled the same way, okay? And I use this word when when we were talking about note, okay? And let's see, I want the Merriam-Webster. It's giving me medical. More medical. I want the musical. So we'll just use this. And basically, see some, and this is what, these can be really technical to where way past what we need to know for them, but okay, I like this one. We'll go with what we're doing. So pitch is the quality that allows us to classify a sound as relatively high or low. Okay, so I want to use that one because from pitch, I'm going to use the word flat and sharp. And instead of using these definitions, I'm going to use ours to talk about what we're going to be getting into. So pitch, you'll write as that it is the quality that allows us to classify a sound as relatively high or low. When you sing on pitch, that's where we use that term. When you sing on pitch, you're hitting the note that you're supposed to be hitting, or even playing, if you're playing a note. What would affect that and playing is if you were out of tune. Let's say your guitar string had come out of tune, or your piano need tune, and you were below or above that pitch, and you weren't hitting what you were supposed to. So I'll give you an example. Here is me playing the Somewhere or the Amazing Grace. So if I go to play that, okay, I'm hitting the right pitches. I'm hitting the right note. If I miss that note, either above or below, it's going to sound off. So I'm missing the pitch. Instead of hitting the note I'm supposed to, instead of hitting that note next, if I go above it, it's going to sound off. It's going to be above it. If I miss it below, it's going to sound off. I'm below it. Same thing with Somewhere Over the Rainbow. If I go to hit the two notes, somewhere over the rainbow, I don't sing that high usually. So if I'm going to hit it with the instrument, okay, that's hitting the right pitch. If I miss that pitch, if I go, it's wrong, and you will hear it. You will be able to know. So the word flat, I want you to write the word flat. That's number 9. Flat means I got below the pitch I wanted to hit. So if I'm supposed to hit this, okay, and I go below it and miss it, okay, that goes below. Instead of here, I went here. Goes down. And you can miss it below by a lot. You could, like I keep going further and further away from it. I'm flat. If I go above it, so number 10, if you go above the pitch, so number 9, flat, you would write below the pitch. Number 10, sharp, okay, the word sharp, S-H-R-P, is above the pitch. Okay, and that would be missing it above. So instead of hitting my right note, instead of hitting the right pitch, here's the right one. Let's see. I'm going to play somewhere. So oops. So instead of hitting this right note, I go above it. If you end up above it, then you've went sharp. And so you end up above the desired pitch. You will hear this if you listen to a lot of live concerts. It's hard to, now usually people that are good professionally playing, they will hit the right notes and you'll hear them. Very rarely do you hear someone go off on an instrument that's playing professionally, unless their guitar or something's out of tune. Singing wise, it's much more difficult. So you will hear a lot of performers, you can tell when they're singing, it doesn't sound quite right. A lot of times they're either flat or sharp. Usually a lot of singers go flat. They don't quite hit the note, especially if they're singing a really high song and they're just not quite getting there. They're going underneath. Although I will say, if you're sing a lot and you're professional and you just get excited and your nerves and you're just pumped up, you could go sharp. You could end up going above the note because you're so keyed up and you sing above the note. That is sharp, okay? So we'll stop there with the definitions. There is a couple more things I want to put on here though. And then we'll be talking about, I'm going to go ahead and break this up in 2. And so that will, because otherwise the videos get really, really long, and this gives you a chance to go back through and maybe fix some of the notes or rewatch it if you need to write some of those words down. I do want to kind of lay out where we're going next. We're going to be talking about a lot of words coming up that deal with tempo, the speed of things, how fast they go, how slow they go, and how that affects music. So an example of that would be like if I listen to a song, I can listen to the same song and slow it down, speed it up, go really fast, and it changed the whole mood of the song, changed the whole outlook. Here's an example. Here's a song. I'm going to play it, and this is Bing Crosby, so he's a crooner. He sings it really slow, and so now the name of the song is called Pennies from Heaven. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. So you could see yourself just relaxing. Maybe if you're with someone, just kind of, just kind of you know, singing like a love song, like really slow. And that's the mood of the song. Now here's the same song, but I'm going to play it from this artist. It's a little faster. And this is the music I like to study to. Let me go to where she sings. So this is Billie Holiday. She's singing, so it's a little bit faster. But I still see myself just kind of studying or hanging out with someone, and you know, now I'm, you know, you're moving a little faster, but you're just kind of, it's still kind of like a chill, like you're chilling to it, you know, you're like. Then the same song, if I speed it up even more, then you almost get, like, you almost got to start tapping your foot, you know. And this is in the song Elf, this is in the movie Elf. It's the same song. And this is an artist called Louis Prima. He's from New Orleans. And you almost got to move when this song is playing this fast. I'm not going to dance. This is not a dancing class, so you're not going to see that. But you can see where the speed of a song can really change the mood of the song. It's the same song, just played in 3 different speeds. And so I wanted to play that. Here is this. I'll play this one, and then we'll end. This one here is, I'll play these 2. Sorry. This is showing the difference between a chord and a note. This song starts out with a chord. You'll hear several notes, and then you'll hear a single note being hit. So, so there's the chord, and then you hear notes. Chord. Chord again. And then the note. See the chord at the beginning and then a note. So I'm going to show that. This is another one. This is a Christmas song, but this would be someone playing it where you could hear and know what song it is and playing it on an instrument note by note. Now, even though they hold out some of those notes, it's Away in a Manger, so you can hear the song. And he's holding notes out, but it's one note at a time. So that's the difference between a chord and a note. You're hitting a chord, but then a note by a time. So that's kind of hearing that difference there. So we'll pause there. What I want you to do is turn in your notes. So either take a photo of it and upload it that way to the Google Classroom. I will have a blank assignment that posts with this. So this video will post on the stream. The blank assignment will post on the classwork tab. It won't have anything on it. It'll be blank. That's where you can either upload your photo of your notes, or if you like to type your notes, if you're one that likes to type it and you typed it as a Google document, you can submit it there and submit it on that, you know, where you just upload your document. So either one's fine with me. You will post that for your assignment today. This will be a graded assignment. And then, like I said, we'll finish these terms tomorrow. Okay, thanks, guys.